Yeah, I believe Thursday it's expected.
What do you have any other legal challenges, or what else do you do from here? Is there any other place you can go, or are you out of appeals? Or?
No, we have another one that we're filing this week. And we still, I've lost recently in the Sixth Circuit, but of course we'll take it to the U.S. Supreme Court regarding an inmate's right to DNA testing. They've never fully ruled on that issue. So there is some hope
on
they
the
might
DNA
take
thing. They tested the fluid, that was found in her body. They found it in her anal cavity.
Yeah.
At the time, I don't want to get into details, but you said you hadn't done that, and
Yeah.
they found that there. How did that happen? And they said it couldn't have happened just from,
It's a coroner that says it. I've got the police reports to show he was lying from get-go about time of death, time of semen deposit. So to put more lies past him, I want to try putting more lies past him. But ultimately, I also can't say. I've always said I don't recall it. I still don't to this day. But as I also said, my memory of that morning with her is like one of them security cameras that takes a picture every second. I don't remember the entire time with her that morning. I remember, fragments of it that you can pretty much piece together the main, most of the main events and stuff. But I said I was so intoxicated I couldn't even walk up steps.
Is there any chance that you did this and you just don't remember, that you blocked it out?
See, that's something the state loves to try and get people to think, and they fail to, they don't want people to recognize that there's a 13-hour window there. When I was with her that morning at 3 o'clock in the morning to when she was murdered, at least sometime in the afternoon, because she was seen going to work about 2 o'clock in the afternoon to pick up her paycheck. So clearly, no matter how intoxicated I was that morning, when I left her, she was well, alive, and healthy, because she was seen alive later that day. So clearly, the state likes to think, I believe they tried pointing or making reference that, that she denied me anal sex, so I flew into a rage and murdered her. But again, that's why I said they like to pick and choose the facts with what argument they're going towards, because there's a 13-hour window there. You don't just, understand the rage aspect of their theory, but you don't fly into a rage 13 hours later. They like, when it suits them, they want people to forget that there's that 13-hour window there. And through the entire day, I had phone calls.
You said you were getting ready to file some kind of legal challenge?
Yeah.
What's that? What's the basis for that one?
I believe it's a Martinez appeal, but you have to probably call my attorney.
Who's your attorney right now?
Mike Benza.
Okay.
Or you could call David Stebbins. I know his number by heart, so I can tell you.
What's his number?
614-469-2999.
He's represented you all through this, hasn't he? The
federal appeals, yeah.
The federal.
Well, they started, I got them late. And that's kind of one of the reasons, unfortunately, why I'm still here. Because after I was appointed 2 attorneys to begin with in the federal courts, and once the DNA came back, they, like I said, it's like a month later, I got the public records information saying, well, look, the coroner lied about the semen deposit, the time of death. I got all these police reports here, and they basically said, DNA came back again, you sit down, shut up, you're dead. And it took me months to get them fired and get Benza and Stebbins appointed. And basically by then, the time had run out for me to bring these newly discovered facts into court. So I'm sitting here with a gold mine of evidence that would warrant a new trial for anybody. And yet, because of simple court rules, I can never present them to a court. I've got them dead to rights with lying about lifting fingerprints. They paraded this mop handle, the mop, which had described as red substance on it. They believe it to be blood. So it's believed somebody mopped up the kitchen. Or they didn't do the bathroom because they found a boot print there. So you presume the only other linoleum place to be mopped up in her apartment would have been the kitchen. Now somebody mopped that up, and they had this masking tape up and down the handle of it, and they paraded it around the courtroom. And the detective testified how they tried to lift fingerprints, but couldn't lift any. Then he changed his testimony on cross-examination. He said, no, we didn't even try lifting fingerprints, but that's why we put the tape on there. So later on, if we want to try lifting prints, we can. I said, then I get the Public Records Act, and there's a picture. Not only is there a police report saying they lifted multiple prints off that mop handle, and then in parentheses said sent to BCI for comparison. And again, they mysteriously just didn't do testing. But then there's pictures in the Public Records Act of the lift tape. And you can clearly see 2 fingerprints on that lift tape. But
What's their motivation for all this? Did they just need somebody to...
yeah, they jumped the gun. If you go back and you look at the records, I mean, if you go back, I believe it was an article in the Akron Beacon Journal. Their problem was they jumped the gun. They arrested me, as I predicted, they arrested me on my traffic warrants. And the morning I was set to go to arraignment on it, and basically the judge would have kicked me out of jail. I heard Summit County Jail was so overcrowded, there's no way in the world the judge would have kept me in jail on traffic violations. They got a newspaper, they got evidence, someone called them at a nearby landfill, I think in an adjoining county, saying they'd found a pair of hands. So you have a captain, I believe it was a captain of the Akron Police, who openly admitted, we have no evidence, we had no evidence to charge Mr. Hartman with this crime, till we had this big break in the case. So they quickly ran and charged me. Then, their problem was, then they went to the landfill. And I believe the newspaper report said it was a pair of bear paws that was actually found. But they done held their press conferences, and there's articles in the paper praising them for their great detective work. They couldn't back down. They had this big press conference, but I go back to his original statement before the so-called big break. They admitted they had no evidence to charge me with her murder. Until they had this big break, which turned out to be nothing. So you go back, so they were stuck and just decided to, might as well roll the dice. To been too political if they then say, oops, our bad. No prosecutors like to do that.